Good morning and namaste to all of you and happy Diwali also. Let's do the prayers first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhuvah Swaha Tatsavitra Vareneyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Asto Ma Satgamya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya Mrityorma Amritam Gamya Om Sehna Bhavatu Seno Bhunaktu Seviryam Karvavahi तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मां विद्वेषावहि ओम शांति 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 Thursdays we are studying Kathopanishad these days. So if you remember that young boy Nachiketa, he got 3 boons from Lord of Death, and he used the first boon for his father, the second boon for the people at large, the people who want to go to the heavenly abode. Then third boon, he asked for himself. He wanted to know what happens after death. And this is a question related to the soul. That's why this is called the Adhyatmic question. So he wanted to know for sure. He said there are so many opinions about it, and I want to know from you because there's nobody else who can teach or tell me for certain. So Yamraj, he just told him that don't ask this question. I cannot give you this boon. In a way, Yamraj was testing the boy. Is he ready to have this kind of a knowledge or not? So that's why we saw that in the last verse, Yamraj is saying, whatever desires are difficult to attain in this world of mortals, you ask for them all according to your wish. So whatever you want, I'll give it to you. The fair maidens, with their chariots and musical instruments, such indeed are not enjoyable by mortals. But he said, I can give you that also. You'll be attended on by them. I will give them to you, but O Nachiketa, do not question about the state of soul after death. Let's see what Nachiketa says in response to this from the Yamraji. He says, Swa abhavaha mritasya yat antakam etat sarva indriya nam jaryanti tejaha api sarvam jivitam alpam eva tav eva vaha tav nritya gite. Swa abhava. See, swa means tomorrow. Abhav means absence. So in other words, it means ephemeral.
Why?
Ephemeral, that means always. Okay, eternal. Okay. Mritasya, of the mortal person. Yat means whatever. So that means whatever there is. Antak, O death. Etat, this. Sarv indriya naam, of all the senses. Jaryanti, wear out. Tejaha, vigor, radiance. Api means also, sarvam means all. Jivitam, life. This is a verse number 26, chapter number 1. Alpam, short. Ev means indeed, tav ev. Tav means yours, ev means alone. Vaha, horses, tav, yours, nritya gite, dance and song. He says, oh death, these, whatever he was offering him, it's temporary. It's not eternal. They tend to decay. The fire or the vigor of all the senses in men. Because we enjoy it with the help of the senses, so senses also wither away. Even the longest life is indeed short. Let these chariots be yours alone. Even the dance and the music. So in a way, he says, you keep them. I don't need these. If you think they are worth having, you keep them. I don't want any of this. So Nachiketa, he has reacted well to the suggestions of Lord Death. From the tone and the words of the Nachiketa's answer, you can see that how firm he was in his arguments. So even if all the showering of these things Lord of Death was doing, Nachiketa came to the same conclusion that the finite sense objects have no eternal value. Okay, all these objects, no matter how long they last, because Yamraj was offering him a long life, as long as he wants. He says, even then, it's not enough for me. It is not equivalent to what my desire is to know. I want to know what eternal is, not what ephemeral is. So it really shows that Nachiketa had lived a very fruitful life of intelligent self-analysis. Even though he was only a young boy, but he could discriminate clearly between the eternal and the temporary, the goal of life. So during his short life in the world, he has been living intensely in his discrimination. That's where he came up with this wise conclusion. I mean, if we look at it, how easily we get swayed away from our path of spirituality. How easily. Something in the world happens, we just, without even thinking, we just walk towards it. Material objects or the material life, very tempting to us. We even justify it. We just even say that this is my duty. But this young boy, how firm he was. Even if some of the heavenly things, because Yamaraji said that mortals cannot have it, but I'll still give it to you. But he had this kind of a clear discrimination. And that's where that even till tomorrow, it will not last. He's looking for something which is permanent. Again, if you remember, not only the sense objects by themselves are finite, but the instrument which we use, the sense organs, they are finite too. They are not infinite. The object could be longer lasting. Sure, our homes and the wealth, the physical wealth will last longer. But our senses won't be there to enjoy them, to appreciate them. Because only through the senses we enjoy this. Without the sense organs, the sense objects cannot influence our minds and produce the experience either of a joy or a sorrow. And this young boy had that. the disastrous sense objects themselves perishable would also make our sense organs deteriorate actually. See, just like first piece of sweet, it could be a jalebi, it could be a laddu. Sure, it seems very sweet, very appetizing. Second one also, third one also. But after a while, you feel like throwing up. You say, please, don't even show it to me. I have had enough. So that's how the deterioration happens. So that's why the offer made by the Lord of Death regarding the long span of life, Nachiketa has been, he just only smiled at it. He truly showed the disgust for it. So no matter how long the life is, he says it's a fleeting. It's a fleeting. So death is equally painful, whether it is today or 1,000 years from now. If we have not understood who we are. But if we have understood who we are, the Atma, then it's not painful. Then we can discard all this ourselves. When we understand what is true, what is untrue, the untrue or the temporary, very easy to let go, just like a snake does. He leaves the whole skin behind and moves on. So the same way, all these things. So Nachiketa is leaving it all behind. He says, I don't have any interest in it at all. Keep your chariots and your dancers and the music. That's why he is just with a full understanding crying it out like this. And you can imagine the true guru who that Lord of Death was. What kind of a joy he must have felt to have a student like this. Because he was testing him. So it's almost like an explosion of joy from the reply of this young boy to have a student like Nachiketa, who just wants to go after only self-realization. Nothing immediate he needed. Na viten tarpniha manushyaha lapsyaye mehe vittam adraksham chetatva jivikshyamaha yavat ishyashri tvam varaha tu me varniyaha sa eva. No means not within, with wealth. With means wealth. Okay. Tarpaniya, satisfied. Manushyaha, man, human being. Lapsya mehe, we will get. Vittam, wealth. Adrakshamam, have seen. Chet, if. Tva means you. Jivishyamaha, we shall live. Yavat, so long. Ishyasi, you rule. Tvam means you. Var, boon. Tu means but. Ne means to me. Varniyaha, to be craved for. Sa means that. Ev means alone. Man is not to be satisfied with wealth. Now that we have seen you, we shall surely get wealth. We shall also live as long as you rule. Therefore, that boon alone is fit to be craved for by me. Okay, so Nachiketa is stressing on that with this verse. So even though a child, but he has the wisdom of a saint. That's what we see from this reply. He is fully aware of his own experiences and the many of the experiences of others. We cannot go through, life is not long enough. This span at least. to go through all the experiences. We learn from other people's experiences too. So he watched life very carefully. And that's why he has come to this conclusion that mere wealth cannot and will not provide the possessor with a everlasting happiness. Okay, that's what he really means by all these words over here. Wealth means not only the bank balance, not the buildings. This wealth is like in its largest scope, he's talking about wealth in every detail, the items, all possible circumstances in life. That's all wealth is talking about. And happiness, sure, we are all looking for happiness. Happiness is a state of the mind. Happiness is a joy, is our nature. We are looking for that, but we are looking for happiness at the wrong place. That is the sad story. And that's why Nachiketa says, it is a fact, statement of truth. When Nachiketa says that no person can be made happy by wealth only, this physical wealth. Okay. This is very obvious actually. We do see it every day, but rarely we recognize it in our own life. Because we often meet rich people, especially these days in the social media, we hear all kinds of stories. And we know that material richness does not mean the inner happiness. But still we think that no, maybe I will be happy with the material wealth. We delude ourselves. So this young boy, he is arguing with the Lord of Death that having gained all the wealth a man can enjoy, sure, but there is a time when the Lord of Death will come. There is an end to it. And then there's a misery if the person has not understood this all. That a dead person will need not even a penny. Everything we have to leave behind. So he says, and another way we can understand these deeper philosophical message over here, he's saying that having met you, O Lord of Death, who can go back poor? Mere darshan of yours is sufficient blessing for me. I have seen you. You are the Lord. I don't need any other wealth. I have seen you. See, just like when we do the Guru Darshan, we say, I have done the Guru Darshan. I don't need anything else. Just the feet of the Guru, or even a dust under the feet of the Guru, that can satisfy a real devotee. And that's what he is saying over here. So based upon the above argument, Nachiketa's wisdom we see, and discrimination in him, such a firmness in his mind that he just wants only the boon he asked for. He said, you told me that you are giving me 3 boons, so this is what I want as a 3rd boon. Verse number 28. Ajiryatam amritanam upetye jiryan mrityaha kavadha satha prajanan abhidhyayan varnaha rati pramodan ati dirge jivite karamet. Ajiryatam, the undecaying. Amritanam, the immortal ones. Upetye, having approached. Jiryan, being perishable. Mritya, the mortal. Kavadha satha, existing on the earth down below. Prajanan, well knowing. Abhidhyayan, having scrutinized. Varnaha, beauty. Rati, love. Pramodan, the enjoyment of. Ati dirghe, in the long. Ati dirgha. Jivite, life. Ka means who? Ramet will rejoice. What decaying mortals living in the world below and possessed of knowledge, after having approached the company of the undecaying and the immortal, will rejoice in the long life, after he has pondered over the nature of the pleasures produced by beauty and love. So he is elaborating on the previous verse. So it's almost like a song of knowledge which is born out of a healthy mind and a very developed intellect. People say this is like a wisdom, cloudless wisdom. Like that means there's no doubt in this wisdom. Sometimes we learn something, but there's always a little speck of doubt here and there. No doubt at all. So he is condemning the agonizing existence of the men of the world who are struggling to earn, striving to possess. They are putting so much labor to hold and hurrying to spend. So it's almost like a sympathetic towards them. And we can see that sympathetic towards all of us. Majority of the human beings are like this. Here is a young boy who has this understanding, and we, even in our 70s and 60s, 50s, we just want to run after the money. Like today, there's a Diwali. Do we really understand what the real wealth is? Are we asking the Lord the real wealth or this temporary wealth? What are we praying for? If we are studying these scriptures, we got to just practice this also. Okay? My own Guruji used to say that even on Lakshmi, Diwali, do not run after this Lakshmi. Just put your head at the feet of the Lakshmi Pati, Narayan himself. This human life is given to cultivate this love and devotion for Lord, not the toys given by the Lord. Toys will come. He does take care of us, haven't he? He has. So over here, it's a very appropriate message for us to remind ourselves today what Nachiketa is doing. He says that having approached the company of the undecaying and the immortal, none will come to entertain any attachment or fascination for the destructible and the decaying, because he is in the company of that Devata. He says, I don't want something which is temporary. All the religions unanimously they claim that human beings, as human beings, we must detach ourselves from this temporary. But it's very rarely we understand in this depth. The act of detachment can be a success only to a degree equal to the degree of attachment towards the Lord. That's where the guidance comes. That's where the vitality comes. When we are doing Diwali Puja, is the God in our mind or the material wealth is in our mind? Remember that today. To attach ourselves to the divine is to detach ourselves from the undivine. Remember that. To walk into the light is to walk out of darkness. So we are going to light all the diyas. Are we lighting that diya in our heart and the mind and the intellect also or not? Outer diyas, they last only as much as oil you put in there or wax you put in there. Even the so-called electric lights, which we saved last year, all of them are not going to be lit up today. We all know that. Half of them, they just are useless. So we got to see that our inner light is lit or not. To swim out to the shore means you have to move out of the water. And this water is the water of the sansar. Bhav Sagar it's called. If you want to reach towards our destination, we got to learn how to swim out of it. And swimming can happen only when we detach. Detachment is needed. Even when we walk also, one foot has to detach in order to move forward. 1 foot at a time. Then he says in last verse of this first chapter, Yasmin idam vichikitsanti mrityoho yat sampraye mahati bruhi natat ya ayam vara mudam anupravishtaha na anyam tasmat nachiketa vrinite. And again, this is spoken by Nachiketa. Yasmin, in which idam means this, vichikitsanti. That means people doubt. Mrityo, oh death. Yat means which, sampraya, passing beyond. Mahati, great. Bruhi, tell. Na means us. Tat means that. Ya means which, I am this. Varaha, boon. Gudam anupravishtaha, become mysterious. Na ayam, no other. Tasmat, therefore. Nachiketaha, vrinite. Vrinite means chooses. O death, tell us that in which men have this doubt, and which is about the great passing beyond. Beyond means the life after death. Nachiketa does not choose any other boon but that. That means concerning this soul, of which the knowledge is hidden. It is a gudam anupravishta. This knowledge is so hidden, it is so subtle, people don't know it. He says, I want only that knowledge. I don't want anything else. So he's so firm. Such a determination. And he's demanding his guru right now. He says, I mean, you can see that no temptation was big enough to entice away Nachiketa's aspiration. He did not get deluded with the charms of the sense objects or glittering joys. So it's almost like you see the dramatic setting for the whole Upanishad in this first chapter, and the real knowledge is going to start in the second chapter. So burning thirst in this young boy. He has not only the discriminating intellect, but a godly spirit of detachment. So Vivek and Vairagya both. Okay. And we learn this from our other scriptures. The emphasis on this, these qualities. Together, these qualities are called sadhana chatushya. These are like a special qualifications which are demanded of a perfect student. If we want to experience intuitively the absolute truth ourselves. So as a student, we need to cultivate these. That's why these Upanishads are written, so that we can learn from it. Enthusiastically, we want to cultivate these. And these sadhana chatushya means fourfold, four kinds of sadhanas. The first one is Vivek. Vivek is a capacity to discriminate. Can we discriminate between the real and the unreal? Do we have a firm conviction of the intellect that Brahma alone is real? God alone is real? And phenomenal world is unreal? Or do we just fool ourselves? Got to look at our Vivek. Okay, check your mind, check your intellect. Because based upon the Vivek, we make the decisions. Okay, because this is a faculty to discriminate. That's Vivek. And with this discrimination, we make the decisions. Our decisions. We don't remember a few years ago the decisions which we made, but today what we are deciding. Yesterday what we decided. Did we use a higher level of Vivek, or did we slip on this path again? This reflection we must do as a student. Then second is Vairagya. Vairagya is the spirit of detachment from the enjoyment of the fruits of action here and hereafter. That's Vairagya. This is what we saw in Nachiketa. He said, I don't want those heavenly dancers, heavenly chariots, long life. Detachment completely from that. He says, I just want to know the truth, ultimate truth, the absolute truth. That's all I want. So Vivek and Vairagya, they help each other. Higher the Vivek, more the Vairagya. Then more Vairagya, Vivek becomes better. They complement each other. You got to keep on working on those. Detachment. And then third part is Shat Sampati. The 6 ethical perfections, which we often talk about, 6 of them. Those are actually the Devik, the divine qualities in human beings. You remember there was a time when we talked about in our Wednesday class, the Shat Ripu. These are the Shat Sampati. Ripus means the enemies. Those Shat Ripus we got to stay away from. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, Matsare, those 6 we got to stay away from. Those are our enemies on this path. They may be friends to live in this world, but we are not going after this physical world. So, Shat Sampati. First one is a Sam, the peaceful state of mind. When our mind rests constantly upon the contemplation, there is no repeatedly agitation created by continuous desires for sense objects. That is a Sam. Yeah? We are living in this objective world, but is my mind hungry for these objects all the time? This is what we need to look at. Somebody was saying that Dhanteras, you got to get something new. Says who? Says only the worldly people. The people who are hungry for the materialism. Not for a seeker of the truth. Remember that. So Sam, this peaceful of the mind goes away when the desires keep on bubbling in our mind. Dham is the self-control by steering sense organs, both of knowledge as well as action. Karmindriya and Jnanendriya, away from their sense objects. We got to learn how to use these tools. Do not get disturbed by them. Then Uprati, third. That is a self-withdrawal. That is like the condition of thought waves in which they are free from the influence of external objects. Uprati. You have a liking for the higher. Uprati. You have started taking the enjoyment, the joy in the higher, not in the sense objects. Uprati. Titiksha. That is a capacity of the mind to cheerfully endure all sorrows and suffering. Sorrows and suffering, they do come in life. We have taken this birth according to the past karmas. Prarabdha is with us. There are good times, all of a sudden we haven't done anything and good time comes. And all of a sudden bad times come too. Endure them both. Like heat and cold, pleasure and pain, etc. Without grudging, without struggling for redress, without feeling helpless and lamenting. Remember that. This is the quality of the Diksha. Endure. Okay. Shraddha. Shraddha is the healthy attempt at a clear intellectual apprehension of the exact import of the pregnant words of your Guru and scriptures. Okay, so Shraddha in the words of the Guru and Shraddha in the words of scriptures. Shraddha. This is called a Shabd Parman. My eyes cannot see it, but my Guru says God is everywhere. That is Parman itself. Guru's word is a Parman itself for me. And in order to see God everywhere, I need to do heighten what my Vivek and have a Vairagya also to that level. Okay, so Shraddha. Samadhan. Samadhan is the state of poise and tranquility. And that means the single pointedness of the mind, which you have gained with the help of your meditation or a contemplation on the supreme reality. Samadhan. So Sam, Dham, Uprati, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhan. These 6 we need to cultivate. Okay, so altogether, so there are 4 parts to it. One is Vivek, second is Vairagya, because I said Chatushya, and these 6, they come under the heading of Shat Sampati. And what is the 4th one? Mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam, that is the impatient and burning desire for liberation. Liberation means to realize the self. Realize that self within which is the self in all. This is the goal of life. And this is what Nachiketa showed. This burning desire. So his Vivek was at the high level Vairagya from any kind of a temptation, he showed full control, what to do, what not to do, all those shat sampati he get, and then mumukshutvam also. So that's why with this third boon, he wants to know the meaning of the great passing beyond. And Lord of Death, he tested Nachiketa. And Nachiketa insisted to know, and he rejected all the gifts. All the tempting gifts he rejected. And he passed the test. And we'll see that how Lord of Death is going to teach Nachiketa. But we will be able to understand the deeper implication of what Lord of Death is teaching if we cultivate some of these qualities too. So we got to look within ourselves. Do I have this level of vivek and vairagya? Or do I have these divine qualities in me? Is my mind calm or not? Do I really see that ultimate goal is the liberation? Do I have that burning desire to see God, God, which is everywhere, but I don't see? How come I don't see? We got to test ourselves. Where do we stand? Give marks to yourself. You remember in school, sometimes some teachers said that, yes, this is the test. You do your own marking. But be honest. I'm sure you had teachers like that. I sure did. You mark your own. So on this path also, we got to just start marking ourselves. How far I have come? Or did I slip back by mistake? And then we got to stand up, have the courage, hold the feet of the Guru, and move on. So next week we will start the Dvityavali, the second section of this first chapter, with Yamraj's words. So let's do that Shanti part, and then few questions, and then meditation. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om.